first and foremost, I appreciate you coming through. You know what I'm saying? The Mental Health for Black Men podcast. You know, we reaching out to different brothers trying to get their story, you know, their journey about their ups and downs, especially, you know, dealing with mental health in particular. You're doing some amazing things. So I'm really looking forward to this episode. Definitely somebody I admire. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do what you done already done. So, you know, welcome to the show, King.
Peace, fam. Peace, fam. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor. So I guess I could ask you this. You know, for the viewers who may not recognize you, you can tell them what your name is and where you from.
Okay. My name is Titus Busbee. I'm from Alabama, the United States. I moved to Ghana in 2017, but I've been going back and forth. Um, yeah, I've been dealing with different issues. You know what I'm saying? As black men coming up in the states is not easy, man. And a lot of our continental brothers, they don't really know exactly uh how we live, but yeah, it's definitely something. It's an environment that's not uh for African men. So just to keep it a buck, this environment is not for African men. So yeah, we all are facing mental challenges.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think all of us are just like physical challenges or emotional challenges. It's just a part of life. But I guess for whatever reason, I ain't gonna say for whatever reason, but you know, the way that we raised, you know, a lot of us, our parents and grandparents just didn't really talk about stress and depression and anxiety. And you kind of get older now and you kind of see why or have a better understanding of why they were, you know, behaving certain ways, you know?
Right. And it's a good thing that we in the age of information and we can access different means to better ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, and everything. And it's a dream of our ancestors to practice the principles of Sankofa and go back and get what traditions and stuff actually work. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a blessing.
definitely. Now, I got to ask you this now. When did you even, I guess, develop this passion for, you know, returning to Africa? Was your family, you know, kind of in this mind frame, or did you kind of like get knowledge, you know, outside of your family as you got older, or
Yeah, definitely outside the family. As coming up as a young brother, it was pretty much just church. You know what I'm saying? Church and religion and everything like that. So as I got older in the college, you know what I'm saying? It was Dr. King and Malcolm X during Black History Month, and that kind of just sparked it because they both was you know religious figures in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Then as I got deeper into it, you know what I'm saying? After graduation, I read Kwame Nkrumah, and that what pretty much set the whole thing off on the Pan African vibe. I was actually introduced to Kwame Nkrumah before Marcus Garvey, so it was kind of like uh, a different situation for me because a lot of brothers come in through Marcus Garvey on some Pan African, but yeah, it's a long journey, bro. In 2012, we wasn't really planning on going to Africa. We was kind of doomsday prepping, really in that negative, low vibrational vibe, and then Africa got presented on the table, and a few brothers on the continent reached out on Facebook, and that really sparked it.
oh, okay. Now I gotta let the viewers know you got a brother. A lot of people I know that kind of move back to Ghana is kind of like they by themselves, or maybe they might have a wife and kids or something like that. But I think you might be the first person that comes to mind on having a brother. If you could talk about that a little bit, like are y'all opposite or similar? Was y'all like on the same level, like we doing this together, or did it just kind of turn out that way?
Yeah, well, we came with a group. When we first came, it was like kind of on a dare. Like, if Trump win the election, we going to Africa. And then it it was during the campaign, it was getting more closer, and it was looking like he was gonna win. So
After he won, we bought the ticket that very next week. You know what I'm saying? I guess it was a group of four of us, and then three more joined in as we was transitioning. So it was like seven brothers, all kind of young in our early 30s, 20s. You know what I'm saying? So that was in 2017, 2018. So but my twin brother, you know what I'm saying, we pretty much been on this for a long time. As far as during the Barack administration, we was out here and advocating. We advocated for reparations and different things like that. So by the time Africa really was on the table, me and bro was all in. You know what I'm saying? The second time we planned on not even coming back, but things was the ancestors was had different plans because we had to keep getting people involved. You know what I'm saying? This was before the year of return, so we had to do a lot of putting on for Ghana. If
Yeah, yeah, I can relate because I've been to about 20 African countries. I've been traveling back and forth. I've been to Ghana about 3, 4 times. So sometimes you got to do like Harriet Tubman did, make them 19 trips. Sometimes you
Right,
bring two people. Sometimes you bring 10. Sometimes you bring one. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
that.
right, right.
And I could relate. Like you were speaking about Marcus Garvey. Now, my family, my first conversation or introduction to Marcus Garvey was with my grandmother. So, her father, my great grandfather, Dr. Travis, he was from the South. He was from Atlanta, and his wife, my great grandmother, she was from like Macon. They from that area, so they was like a part of that great migration in the 1920s when like just millions of black people just was just bouncing out the South, and they came to Cleveland where I'm from. So just so happened Marcus Garvey is popping around that time. That my grandmother was born in the 1920s. So it might make a long story short. My great grandfather joined the UNIA. He was a member. So I never met him. I never talked to him. But my grandmother, she was hitting me with the information. She wasn't so much Pan African, but like when you just raised a certain way, some stuff just stick with you. Because I remember talking to her like, we think our grandparents be so old and they time so far gone. So I'm asking her about her parents. I'm like, was they slaves or what was they doing or what was they like? And she like, no, my father, he was a free man. He said that we are Africans and we should go back to Africa. She said I was a kid, but I did go to some of the meetings. She did go to some like Marcus Garvey and them had parades and marches through the hood and stuff. So as a young kid, I just had an admiration for Africa and African people. You know.
Yeah, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up. And
Mm.
the generational thing that's coming more as time going on, man. A lot more of us will have some in the blood type revolutionaries, coming through.
Yeah, yeah. I do genealogy, so I help people find their family trees. I trace it all the way back to the plantation. So a lot of us do got some revolutionaries in there, but we just gotta find them sometimes. Some people blessed enough to already know, you
Right.
know. So you know what I'm saying. But let me see. Okay, and I wanted to ask you this. You spoke about being in Ghana. You said 2017. How much has Ghana changed since then? Has it changed a lot, or do you feel like it's pretty much the same?
Yeah, it's changing a lot, bro. It's changing a lot. Back in 17, first of all, the CD was like 5 to 1, and it jumped up crazy to 16 at the beginning of this year. So if you was there back in 2017, 2018, and like, 5 CDs to $1 ain't really jack, and we was thugging it out, getting it out the mud at that time. So yeah, as the transition between the American currency and the Ghanaian currencies changed, it became a lot different. And of course, with December coming and a lot of the campaigning going for getting the diaspora there, it changed. And but it's a good change, you know what I'm saying? Even the projection of tourism back when I first started researching it said that by 2027 Ghana was gonna be top tourism. So you know what I mean. I figured the change was coming. I didn't really see the people adapting Western culture so tough like they did. I didn't really see that coming because back in 2017 it wasn't so prevalent like that. But I know Accra is a metro city, so until I get out of Accra into the bush, into the villages, you really see a heavily westernized influence in Accra and Kumasi, different metros parts of Ghana.
Okay, okay. I appreciate you sharing that because, like I say, I've been traveling to about 20 African countries, and I've seen Africa change, but I think I took my first trip in like 2013. So, YouTube, it just didn't have as many people, doing videos and stuff like that. So I would Google stuff about different African countries, and it was a lot of negativity. So when I was doing it, I was just kind of on my own. But now, fast forward 2025, you got a lot more people. Like you said, there's this campaigning and pulling more people out there. So I definitely have seen that change. Now, have you considered any other African countries, or you feel like Ghana is where you're gonna put your flag down to? You know?
I think Ghana is a springboard. I really can't see because I don't have a tribal origin as a continental African. I really don't see myself, staying long term anywhere on the continent because I'm a global African in a sense of, you know, I can just move throughout. I did get my citizenship, which is amazing. You know what I'm saying? But I like Liberia. I love Nigeria. I've been thinking about some East African countries. I just to visit. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, man, I'm really just you know, I'm just gonna bounce around for real.
I can dig it. I can dig it. That's what I've been doing, man. Just bouncing. And because from my experiences, like they don't really teach us this, but Africa is real diverse. So it's like real different. Like if you in America, just imagine like you go from New York to LA to say like Alabama, you know what I'm saying? The weather be different, the food is different, the lingo different, people, dress different, you know what I'm saying? And that's just one country. So by the time you go from like Ghana to Egypt to what I'm saying, Madagascar, it's like a whole
Yeah,
nother planet.
and that's the beautiful part about the diversity on the continent and with the diaspora, bro. We really diverse, man, and I really, man, it's crazy because the vision is coming, but
Hmm.
we maintain a diverse unity on the continent before colonization, and I think the division is coming with the addition of outside money, man, and it's not something that we can even dictate as African people globally. We can't decide who gets funds from the conglomerate of Western society. We can't go into their pockets and make them whatever. So if they dangle it over our heads and we fight for it, we just feeding into it. You know what I mean? So I really feel like the unity of Africa is inside the diversity of all of these different tribes, all of these different languages. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brother, we real different, but the unity comes in a defined destination. You know what I'm saying? What it looks like when this is all over with and we as liberated as Africans. That's what we can. That's the solid foundation that we build unity on. I really feel like this twin energy is what's supposed to be teaching uh us how to unify, but don't nobody want to listen to it because it's just a like an anomaly. Like, oh, y'all got the same face, But now, how y'all moving? How y'all make things happen? You know what I mean? So it's really about objectives. It's about putting that destination in your mind, envisioning it all the time, discussing it amongst each other, and just that is the unity. You don't even mind putting money and energy into that because the vision is so clear, and it may not even happen in our lifetime, but as long as the vision is clear, you can always strive toward it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Like you say, it's It's an anomaly. It's beautiful though, man. It's amazing to see, like I say, two brothers, two black brothers from America doing something worldwide like that. You know what I'm saying? Something positive is very inspiring, and 90% of the world wouldn't understand, but it's so much that we could learn from y'all, like you say. So that's why I'm definitely glad that you took the time to, drop in on us and share some of that. And I had wanted to say this. I don't know if I said it. For me, like the number one reason why I left America was because of the racism. The systematic racism, where it's like you try to buy a house, you try to get a loan, you try to get a job, you try to go to the doctor, you try to do anything and everything. It's just stressful. You know what I'm saying? And you got that post traumatic stress where it's like you thinking about all the old slavery and civil rights stuff, and then see it on TV like a George Floyd situation. So it come back. It's like it haven't changed. And then like the second thing for me was like the violence. Kind of like what we do to ourselves. Like whether you go to Detroit or New Orleans or Miami or Baltimore, we got brothers that's killing each other, and I feel like Ghana is nowhere near, and it's a few more African countries like Madagascar, Botswana, where you just don't have that gun violence and that killing and stuff. So mentally, those two things was really just, I don't know, it was just eating me up, and that's why I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. And if I have a family, I want to raise them, at least give them a chance to not have to deal with that racism and that gun violence.
Definite, definite, bro. And another thing, it was definitely those two things, bro. Because not worrying about violence and not worrying about the racism is a load off. But to have the opportunity to teach and feed my own children without a a curriculum from Western society, or you know what I mean, they they telling us lies about what we should be eating, what we should be reading, what we should understand as you know people living over here. You know what I mean? I really I admire those African men over there that take all the responsibility. They gonna have their own farm, their own school, their own everything to make sure their children maintain some things. You know what I mean? More so than progressing into the future, they want to be able to keep the language and heritage and tradition of their ancestors intact. So you got to take care of all of that stuff, and you can't allow another outside people to teach and feed you your children and expect any good thing to come out of it. And going to Africa, they already got those things going. We just need to infuse our skills and talents and to keep it moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Now I want to ask you about this. I don't know if you touched on it or not, but now when did the farming come in? When did you develop this passion for farming? Did you grow up on the farm? Did you have family members that had a farm, or did you just kind of get into that later in life?
I mean, we definitely seen the farm coming up. We didn't really get into it. My dad would punish us in the yard with farm work and planting trees and pulling weeds and stuff. That was like a punishment. But in 2016, there was a younger brother that went to Ghana with us. He was telling us about farming. We was like, ah man, be quiet, man. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like pushing him to the side. And then this opportunity to go to Denver and work in the medicinal industry came up, and we did that for like 3 months, and it just like kind of sparked something. And then when we got to Ghana, we tried the music and the art scene, and we tried different things to grind, because that's what we did in the States. Musicians and artists, and I'm a visual artist. Tyree is a producer or whatever. So but the thing about Ghana was just coming up on those type of things. It wasn't industry already established, so it was kind of difficult. So we got into farming, and it was just like transactional. You know what I'm saying? Seed time, harvest. You know, going to get some CDs in your pocket type thing. And then COVID-19 came, and it was like, yo, we really need to be farming, because uh different parts of you might go to speaking English, they might think you done brought the disease. You know what I'm saying? So we was at that point we was buying mangoes, buying coconuts, putting seeds in the ground, just they call it making wild, that make wild, you know what I'm saying, in Ghana. So yeah, we went hard investing in you know, long-term trees, tangerines, avocados, you know what I'm saying? Cuz you know, you never know, man. We might not even see when the fruit come, but if we don't get them in the ground now, it ain't you know, you can't do nothing. Best time to plant a tree is right now.
Yeah, yeah, I can dig it. Now you speaking on like the, I guess the nutritional aspect of farming. You know, you got to get your food, you got to get your energy, calories, your minerals, your vitamins. But what about the, I guess the mental benefits of farming? Did you perceive any of those?
Oh man, every day, bro. Every day it was like so therapeutic. You know, just waking up with the sun, putting your hands in the dirt. It's like so charging. It's like I really can't explain it or compare it to other stuff. But I imagine this is what George Washington Carver and all of these you know people that was studying plants, what they was, getting downloads from the ethers about how to live this life, bro. You know what I mean? It's very therapeutic, man. Very one with nature and all the elements. You learn about the soil as a component is just microorganisms feeding the plants. You know what I mean? I didn't really get into animal farming too much. We did do chickens for like 8 months, but it was like dealing with people, you know what I'm saying? And I was trying to get off of that because the chickens had their own mind, they had their own attitudes, they had their own, they would get sick, they would need somebody to take it. It was just like, but the plants, they just right there waiting on you every day, and they would talk, but it ain't gonna be loud. It ain't gonna be. You gotta shut up and listen. You know what I'm saying? So it's therapeutic, man.
Yeah, yes indeed, yes indeed. Um,
Oh,
I'm from Cleveland, so like I said, I can imagine it's like a lot of big cities, you know what I'm saying? So they had like a lot of abandoned houses, you know what I'm saying? And they'll get boarded up, the people will move out, and then you have people that go around and break in the houses, they'll steal the scraps out, you know, the pipes and the copper and sell it. And so by the time they damage the house, nobody want to buy it. It get condemned, it get dilapidated. You know, the house is already old anyway. So they end up knocking the houses down, and on certain streets it might be 10 houses that's knocked down. You know, it's just like a plot of land there. So what I started doing was buying different plots of land on my street and behind my street in my area. So I got about 3 plots of land, and then I started an urban garden. And you know, I had the fruits and vegetables, I had the beehive, I had the chickens. And like you say, the chickens, they do got personality. That's something that I never knew, because you know, maybe just because we eat so much chicken, I never thought about them doing anything or having feelings or nothing. But I could tell you, like when one of them died, you know what I'm saying? I could tell that the other chicken was sad. I had these chickens for like a few months, however long I had them for the summer. They never ran away, they never escaped or nothing. But when this one chicken died, I had to remove him. And then the other chicken, he got out. He escaped. He went around looking for the chicken. You know what I'm saying? But they
mm,
had never got out before. So that let you know, like, they not stupid, you
Right.
know, but he trying to figure out where the other one was at. But mentally, you know, starting that urban garden, it did a lot for me. Cause like sometimes, like you would go to sleep, you would be thinking about stuff, then you wake up, you know, you in a bad mood. But I hear them chickens going at like, you know, they get up early, like 5 or 6, and they small and stuff. So I feel, you know, like, man, let me get up and feed them. So I go out in the yard, the fresh air hit me. You know, it'd be a little chilly, but I'm up now. The sun coming up. By the time I, you know, throw them some scraps, let them out, let them run around, let them eat, you know, I'm not really thinking about what I was thinking about before. I don't feel so bad. Like I said, I got the fresh air, the wind hit me, the, you know, everything going on. Then I had a beehive. Then I go to the beehive, you know, people will look at one bee like it's a nuisance. But to have thousands of bees in front of you, you know, you're going to be respectful towards them. So you're going to move slowly. You're going to pull the, you know, the boxes, you know, because you don't want to hurt the queen, they'll go crazy. So, doing that for 30 minutes, checking my hive, making sure ain't no intruders in there, ain't no disease or no sickness or nothing in there. That 30 minutes to go by, and I'm strictly focusing on what I'm doing. I say all that to say that, you know what I'm saying? So it just would boost my spirit so much. Like the rest of my day would go so much better just because I was out in that yard touching the leaves, touching the animals, touching the insects, touching the soil. That stuff, like, ground, people call it grounding. That stuff, it releases like dope. It releases endorphins, and it stimulates those natural endorphins, because we mammals, we animals, but 90% of the things that we do and the places we are at, they're artificial places. Like we in the house, or we in the car, or we in the office, we on the phone, that's rubber, that's plastic. We playing the game, that's plastic. We watching the TV. So it's like we've been totally removed from nature. And I think that's a big part of the stress, the depression, and the anxiety.
Right, right. And the beauty about Ghana specifically is, some people is realizing this, and is picking up traction. The balance between indigenous and industrial. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
you can't stay on one side or the other. Um, and then I'm convinced that once we go back to these things, like the mineral resources that's under the ground will make its way to the top. But as
Hmm.
long as keep you know attempting to be Western, that's one thing I would say Africans globally are doing. We are trying our best to be capitalist, their kind of capitalist. I ain't talking about free market just going and selling your goods and services. No, I'm talking about a permanent underclass that we can capitalize on. You know what I'm saying? That those
Hmm.
type of things are not indigenous in thought. You know what I'm saying? They came from colonialism. So yeah, man, it's certain things about getting one with nature, and the food that you grow is the food that you eat. You know, trying to feed everybody it comes with a little God complex. You know what I'm saying? It comes with a look, I decide who live and die type thing. You know what I mean? If you trying to feed everybody, you know what I mean? It's an impossibility, and Western powers really think they can do it, and it's not how life is supposed to go.
Yeah, yeah. I can dig it. Now, okay. Now what are you growing now? Is it a multitude of things, or are you strictly focused on certain? Um.
Yeah, well, we got two farms. You know what I'm saying? Cause eventually we want to separate it. Me and bro. Him be on one farm and then me on the other one. In the central region, it's a coconut plantation where we got mostly trees, mangoes, avocados, tangerine, oranges, just big stuff that you really just maintain at this point. Coconuts will be bearing in the next year, so you know what I mean, because they take like 7 years or something like that. So,
Wow.
but then on the other farm, we do like the fast cash crops. You know what I'm saying? We do tomatoes, onions, green peppers, uh, plantains, bananas, stuff that grow a lot faster. Cassava, which is a big thing in Ghana, in West Africa, period. You feel me? We do like peppers, like the hot peppers. We try to get a good number of that so we can take to market. And just stuff like that that's quick, 3, 4, 5 months harvest, you know what I mean?
Wow, that's what's up. That's dope. Now I can ask you this: Do you offer like any courses or classes on farming in Africa for the, I guess, the diasporians that's coming over?
Yeah, I ain't gonna hold you, bro. A lot of diasporans can't really tough out the bush, bro. We deep in
Mm.
the bush. So when you say we use minimal lights, minimal resources, um, we very minimalistic out there. You know what I'm saying? We don't eat meat on the farm. Is real hardcore gangster stuff, and I've had a few Americans come out there, and they was ready for the experience, though. You know what I'm saying? They had a good you know
what do you call it, disclaimer before, I give them the disclaimer, and if they still want to tough it out, they can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, it's about, breaking yourself, from the comforts and convenience of Western society, and thinking about it how, our ancestors done it, and even the white people when they came to the United States or whatever, they faced all kind of crazy, it was literal hell to conquer people, as well as staying alive in conditions that ain't, normal to you. So yeah, I just think of it like that, man. Or basic training in the army or whatever you going through is like getting through that phase of building from scratch.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. But I'd be up for it at least to try it, because I'm thinking. But matter of fact, when I the first time I went to Ghana, I went in 2019. Like the first my first time in Ghana, the first day I stayed with some Ghanaians on the farm, and you mentioned this, they didn't eat meat. So for my first week in Ghana, I didn't eat no meat, but they was growing different fruits and vegetables, and they didn't have a house. They had a bus, and they kind of rehabbed it a little bit, but it wasn't like, like how we do it over here. They just put some beds in there. So, and then they didn't have a shower. We had to shower in like the little river they had. I don't know, it wasn't a
Mm.
river, it was like a creek or something. So, and that was a life changing experience. I was thankful for that experience. And when I had to use the bathroom, for the viewers, I had to use it outside. They
Oh
had
yeah.
toilet paper, but so
Yeah, man, it's a good situation. Like we got living quarters now, you know what I'm saying? Because we got like 6 dudes living there. It's we got solar street lights, you know what I'm saying? We got different little stuff to keep, some amenities, we got but for the most part, you out in the bush, you know what I mean? It's camping. It's camping. It's like,
mhm.
getting out there. But when you get those crops, when you get like when you see the plants actually growing, um, it ain't nothing like it, man. It ain't nothing like it. It's I can't explain. It ain't no words in English.
Right. You just gotta experience it. Some stuff you can't explain. It's like somebody be like, "Man, you ever had a banana before?" And then you be like, "What do it taste like, or what is it?" You gotta eat one. You gotta feel
Right.
one. So that's dope, man. I ain't gonna hold you up. We 32 minutes in, so I can ask you this for the viewers that's checking you out. Is it any way for them to keep up with you, in your journey, you and your brother? I don't know if y'all have like a YouTube or social media, or
Yeah, we
well.
got a we got a YouTube, but it ain't really active. We got See You in Ghana is our major active group on Facebook. See You in Ghana. But yeah, like I would just encourage brothers, man, brothers to a lot of sisters go on trips as groups, and nobody look at them like nothing, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
whenever brothers try to get together and go on trips or go to the motherland, it's always like something, you know what I'm saying? So I just
Right.
want to encourage brothers to not listen to nobody, you know what I'm saying? If you want to go to Ghana, any country on the continent, you know what I'm saying, don't listen to nobody. Do it for yourself, bro. Just step out there, you know what I'm saying? So and whatever you got to do to take care of your mental health, you know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody say nothing, you know what I mean? Take care of yourself, because if you don't, ain't nobody else going, like, for real, nobody's really looking at us like that, like we need something, you know what I'm saying? A lot of folks just don't look at black men in that way, and actually a good thing if we take embrace it. But yeah, man, look at the motherland as a viable, lucrative, whatever, everything.
Yeah. It's definitely so much potential out there in Africa. Even if you don't pick Ghana, you got almost 60 different countries you could choose from.
Right.
And if you're an American, like from my experience, they be like, welcome, and they'll work with you. But I say this to the brothers that's watching: if you're going through anything mental, and you feel like, man, I need a break, I need a reset, I need a breath of fresh air, I need something to inspire me and change me and help me, just at least get to the next level, taking a trip to Africa, especially with a group of men, so you can share that experience versus you being solo, looking behind your back. You nervous, ain't been here before. If you could go with some brothers, that's a bond and an experience that you're gonna cherish, and it's gonna affect you for the rest of your life.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get up out of here, King. So I'm gonna edit it. So I may put this one out either today or tomorrow. Now I was gonna ask you this. And you probably could think about it, or maybe holler at your brother about it. I was organizing a group tour to do like a mental health retreat. So I
Mm-hmm.
told everybody it's gonna be 7 days. So we're gonna do the usual suspects: Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast. That's all we
Mm-hmm.
could do in 7 days. But we supposed to meet every week. I don't know if you was on the call or not, but we supposed to meet every week, and then I'll talk to the guys about the group tour. But maybe I can run this by them if it'll help you, or if y'all got the time. Maybe if I be like, okay, maybe some people might want to do 2 weeks or 10 days. They might want to do an extra 3 days or extra 7 days or 5 days, whatever they can do. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could use that last 3 or that last 5 or that extra 7 to rock with y'all on the farm. And
Yeah.
then you could think of a price and think of a daily itinerary, and then the excess people that want to do it, then I swing them over to you and we could work something out. So if you can think of a price, think of a itinerary, and then like you say, if y'all ain't gonna eat meat or they not gonna be able to eat meat, you could let them know what fruits and vegetables that they'll have access to, since we gonna be
Available.
far away
Right.
from we ain't gonna be in the crop.
Right. 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 Yeah, definitely, bro. I'll set that
Mhm.
up, man, and rock with bro, like you said, and we'll just come up with something. Put down some numbers and some, give you the chance to look up some living places where we can crash at some hotels nearby, whatever.
Mhm.